Picture yourself not as gears and wires, but as a swirling mix of nature's chemistry. Our planet is associated with 103 elements, and your body is born of those exact same elements. We are walking, talking, volatile chemistry sets.
And that shift in perspective, it changes the entire game, because a machine either works or it's broken, it's binary. But chemistry is all about balance. It's about reaction and interaction. It's about harmony.
That is the core theme of today's deep dive. We are exploring a discourse by Ron W Rathbun that focuses on the heart, but it goes way deeper than just the organ thumping in your chest. We're talking about the physical trinity, consciousness, and this idea that health isn't just good mechanics.
It's a state of harmonious vibration.
Exactly.
When elements in nature are in harmony, life flourishes. Ecosystems thrive. But when they clash, when that chemistry is off, you get destruction, you get storms, you get decay. And the source argues it's exactly the same in our bodies.
So when your internal chemistry is in harmony, life is good. When it's in disharmony, life is painful.
It's that simple.
So our mission today is to figure out what disrupts that harmony. We're going to look at how our own emotions, through this framework of the ego, the intellect, and the heart, literally trigger chemical reactions that change our vibration.
It really bridges the gap, doesn't it?
It does. It bridges the gap between feeling good and actually being healthy.
It connects the feeling to the physics.
Yes. So let's dive in. Let's unpack this concept of the physical trinity. Now, I have to admit, when I first saw that word trinity, my brain went straight to, like, Sunday school.
Of course.
But Rathbun isn't talking about theology here, is he?
No, not at all. He's using the word Trinity to describe the physiological and psychological makeup of a human being. He lists three specific components: the ego, the intellect, and the heart.
Okay.
And here's the key point. He explicitly identifies these as the physical trinity because they are all parts of the body.
Which is a crucial distinction. We usually think of the ego or the intellect as these, floaty, abstract things. But he's grounding them in the physical.
Correct. And because they're part of the physical experience, they operate under physical laws, specifically the law of action and reaction.
So Newtonian physics applied to human emotion. This was the part of the source that really grabbed me. It's such a clear breakdown of how we function, or, well, malfunction. The source says all three parts, ego, intellect, heart, have a specific outward action and then a specific inward reaction.
It's like a chemical formula for misery if you aren't careful. It really is. It creates a map of our internal conflicts.
So let's run through them, because I think everyone listening will recognize themselves in this. First up is the ego. The source says the action of the ego is anger toward others.
Right. That's the outward explosion, the "you cut me off in traffic," or the "how dare you speak to me like that" kind of moment.
But the reaction is being angry at yourself.
Which makes total sense if you really think about it. When the ego flares up and it attacks something external, the recoil, the reaction, is often this internalized frustration. You think you're just mad at the other guy, but give it an hour, you start feeling heavy, you replay the argument, you start judging yourself for losing control. That outward fire becomes an inward burn.
It's a loop. You can't throw a punch without feeling the impact in your own arm. Okay, next is the intellect. This one felt painfully relatable. Its action is resistance to the world.
And the reaction is resistance to oneself, internal conflict.
Resistance to the world. That's when we just argue with reality, right? Like, it shouldn't be raining today, or the economy shouldn't be like this.
Exactly. It's the intellect trying to impose its logic on a chaotic universe. It just fights what is.
And the source argues that when you spend your day fighting against reality, you end up fighting yourself in your own head. You get restless.
Yeah.
Your mind starts eating itself because it can't solve the problem of reality.
That's that 3 a.m. staring at the ceiling feeling.
Yes, just pure internal friction.
That's the intellect in disharmony.
And finally, the heart. And this one hit home the hardest for me. The outward action is feeling hurt by an outside source.
And the reaction is feeling hurt by ourself.
This is the double whammy of heartbreak. Someone hurts you, that's the action. But then almost immediately we start hurting ourselves. I wasn't good enough. I should have known better.
I'm unlovable.
It's the duality the source talks about. It says this pattern grew out of the duality of the physical and the spiritual. He calls this action-reaction loop our roots in humanity. And if you look at those three things, anger, resistance, hurt, that pretty much sums up the majority of human suffering. And every single one has an internal component.
Exactly. We think the problem is the person who made us angry, or the world that's annoying us, or the partner who broke our heart. But the source is pointing out that the reaction The anger itself, the resistance to self, the hurt by self is just as damaging.
So if we have these three volatile parts, ego, intellect, and heart, just constantly firing off actions and reactions, if we're a chemistry set, this sounds like a recipe for an explosion. What manages this whole circus?
Well, that's where the mind comes in.
The mind. Okay, we need to distinguish this from the intellect, right? Because people use those words interchangeably all the time.
A huge distinction. The intellect is part of the machinery. It's the processor that resists the world. The mind it's the manager. The source explains that the mind has an association with all three parts.
Okay.
And the text suggests that our evolutionary goal, the whole reason our minds are evolving, is essentially impulse control.
Impulse control.
In a spiritual sense, yeah. It says our evolution is about learning how not to lose self-control against the outside world or against ourselves. It's about developing the capacity to intervene in that automatic action-reaction loop we just described.
So the mind is there to stop the ego from screaming, or the intellect from obsessing over things.
Ideally. And this leads to a really important distinction the source makes between the physical and the spirit. We need to get our definitions right here to really understand the chemistry part.
Okay, so the source breaks it down almost like an equation. The physical represents chemistry.
And the spirit represents consciousness.
Okay, so physical equals chemistry. Spirit equals consciousness.
And the mind is the bridge between them. The source says it is the spirit that brings the physical alive. And it does that through the mind.
I love that image. It's like the spirit is the electricity, the body is the complex chemical set, and the mind is the wiring that connects the two.
That's a great analogy. The mind connects the physical soul experience, all that chemistry and biology, with spiritual consciousness. It's the meeting point. And because it's the meeting point, it's also the battleground.
Which brings us right back to the heart. Because if the mind is the bridge, the heart seems to be where the heaviest traffic is, and where the worst accidents happen. The source dives really deep into the duality of the heart.
It does. It says the heart has a physical side, which is chemistry, and a spiritual side, which is associated with consciousness. It's the intersection of the two.
And here is where it gets really interesting, and honestly, a little scary. The source describes what happens when the heart gets hurt. It says the heart can pick up compartments that attach to it.
Compartments. It's a very specific word choice. It implies something heavy, something added on.
It is. And it's not just a metaphor for feeling sad. The text says these compartments literally cause the heart rate to change and the heart to constrict. Emotional hurt causes physical pain in the heart.
And this is where that body as chemistry idea becomes very, very real. We tend to think of emotions as these airy, fairy things that happen in the clouds of our imagination.
Right.
But the source is arguing that an emotion is a chemical event.
It literally says constriction in the heart can come from a depletion of chemistry.
Right. Just as you can deplete your body through physical exertion, like running a marathon, you can deplete your body through emotional exertion. Physical pain and emotional pain both deplete the body's resources.
The source even mentions, and I looked this up, it's true, that there's a medical term for a person who dies of a broken heart.
Takotsubo cardiomyopathy. It's real. It's often called broken heart syndrome. The heart muscle literally weakens and changes shape. The left ventricle balloons out due to a surge of stress hormones.
Wow.
It's a chemical overload that physically deforms the organ.
That is just,
Yeah.
It's wild and terrifying. So when the source says we pick up compartments of pain that attach to the heart and cause constriction, it's describing a physiological reality, literally squeezing the life out of our own hearts.
Absolutely. And the source distinguishes between two directions this pain comes from. It can be external, picked up from another person, or it can be internal, where we feel hurt by ourselves, often because of a lack of self-love.
So we have this heart that's trying to be a bridge for consciousness, the electricity flowing, but it's getting clogged up with these compartments of pain. And that leads to physical constriction, chemical depletion. That sounds exhausting.
It is exhausting. That's why people feel so physically tired when they're grieving or in a toxic relationship. Their chemistry is being depleted. They're running on empty.
So what's the fix? If the problem is that we're holding onto these compartments of pain, how do we let them go? The source talks a lot about attachment.
It does. And this is a nuanced point because in our culture, we often confuse attachment with love. We think, I'm attached to you, therefore I love you.
Right. I can't live without you. We put that in pop songs. It's romantic.
Exactly. But the source really challenges that narrative. It suggests that attachment is actually about control.
That's a hard pill to swallow. I think most parents or partners would bristle at that. I'm attached because I care.
But you have to ask yourself, is the attachment about their well-being or about your need for them to be a certain way? The text says some people think care is attachment and control, but true care is defined as caring about somebody without controlling them at all.
Allowing a person to be free.
Exactly.
That sounds great on paper, but it's so hard to do. Why do we cling so tight? Why do we try to control the chemistry of everyone around us?
Well, the source offers a very pragmatic view on this. It says attachment causes pain, and that pain is actually a learning mechanism.
A learning mechanism. How so?
We learn to let go because holding on hurts. It says it's by learning that attachment causes pain that we learn to let go of it.
So the pain isn't a punishment. It's the stove burning your hand, so you learn to take your hand off the stove.
Precisely. If holding on to a grudge didn't hurt you physically, if it didn't deplete your chemistry, you'd probably hold on to it forever. But because it constricts your heart, because it drains your life force, eventually you have to drop it just to survive.
And the ultimate goal, according to the source, is a state of freedom, or, enlightenment. And the definition of freedom here is very powerful. It says you find freedom when the outside world can't affect you and your association with yourself can't affect you.
Let's pause on that second part.
Yeah, Lex. The outside world not affecting you, I get. That's stoicism, that's sticks and stones. But your association with yourself can't affect you. What does that even mean?
I think it goes right back to that physical trinity we talked about at the start. Remember the reaction of the ego, anger at self, the reaction of the intellect, resistance to self.
And the heart, hurt by self.
Right. Freedom is when you stop doing that to yourself. It's when you stop beating yourself up. It's when your own self-perception doesn't trigger that chemical depletion. You stop being your own worst enemy.
That leads us right into the concept of self-love, which the source defines pretty simply. Feeling good about who we are, independent of anything outside ourselves.
Independent is the key word there. If your self-worth depends on your job or your partner or your bank account, you aren't practicing self-love in this context. You're practicing attachment to external things.
And when those things shake, your chemistry shakes.
Exactly.
So self-love is stability. It's a stable chemical burn.
Yes. And this brings us back to the core metaphor of the whole deep dive. Because if we aren't constricting our hearts with pain and attachment, what replaces it? The source uses the word vibration.
Love is harmonious vibration.
It ties everything back to nature. Remember the 103 elements. If the body is a mix of all these elements like notes on a scale, love is when those notes are played in harmony.
And the source says the nature of this harmony is to promote healing and the continuation of the appreciation of life.
That's the metric, appreciation. The source contrasts love with hate in a really interesting way. It doesn't say hate is violence or evil necessarily. It says hate is simply the lack of appreciation for life.
That's a much quieter, almost sadder definition of hate. It sounds like apathy or numbness.
It's entropy. To love life is to appreciate it. To hate life is to fail to appreciate it. And physically, chemically, that appreciation creates a harmonious vibration that allows the body to function as it was designed.
When the elements are in harmony, life is good.
And when they clash, life is painful. It all comes back to that.
So when we talk about health, we are not just talking about blood pressure and cholesterol. We're talking about whether your internal chemistry is singing or clashing.
Exactly. A harmonious vibration is a harmonious feeling of health. You can't separate the feeling from the physics. If you feel heavy or tight or drained, that is a chemical reality. Your elements are clashing.
This has given me so much to think about with how I treat my own body. I think I've been treating it like a rental car. Drive it hard, put gas in it, hope it doesn't break down. But thinking of it as this elemental mix that responds to my emotional state that changes the game.
It puts the responsibility back on you, doesn't it?
It really does. It means I can't just blame the traffic for my stress anymore.
No. It means that managing your anger, managing your resistance, and managing your hurt isn't just good for your mental health. It's essential for your physical survival. You are the chemist of your own vessel.
So every time you choose to let go of an attachment, you're choosing to balance the equation.
That's the work.
We've covered a lot of ground today. We looked at the physical trinity, ego, intellect, heart, and how their actions and reactions can drive us crazy.
We saw how the mind acts as the bridge between spirit and chemistry. And we took a hard look at how emotional pain literally constricts the heart and depletes our life force.
And finally, we landed on the cure. Detachment, true care, and striving for that harmonious vibration where we actually appreciate being alive.
It's a journey from constriction to expansion, from a depleted chemical state to a harmonious one.
So here is the question we want to leave you with today. We talked about those compartments of pain that attach to the heart. We talked about how emotions literally change your chemistry.
If you accept that your body is a mix of chemistry and consciousness,
Then what compartments or attachments are you holding on to right now that are physically depleting your vibration? Is that grudge, that resistance to the news, or that judgment of yourself really worth the chemical cost you're paying for it?
it's a high price to pay.
Thanks for listening to this deep dive. Go vibrate harmoniously.